Hey folks, so I wanted to build this fun app for quite some time, and this is how it works.
What's good, fam? So I've been low key want to build this sick app for a hot second, and I'm finally getting into how to make it happen.
And that's what it is. It takes your audio and you get your own voice cloned and talking in Gen Z or Gen Alpha language or any other language that you would like for it to speak in. And the way this works is quite simple. As you saw, we just hold and press the record button. It takes the audio, sends it over to our processing backend, and then it gets back with the converted audio. So let me walk you through how this works. And before that, why not let's try another example. Building AI apps is quite fun, actually. I love building and showcasing.
Low-key building AI apps is hella fun. I'm super into building and then flexing them.
So the way it works is that as soon as we press and hold the mic button, it saves the audio, it sends it to an API for transcription. So we are using Groq-based transcribe. This is the speech-to-text API that they offer. It uses Whisper and it is quite fast. And once we get the transcribed text, we send that over to Langflow. And before that, we showcase that. So that's what we see here in our application. And then the transcribed audio is sent over to Langflow where we process it. We convert it into the Gen Z language. And from there, it is sent over to the text to speech API, which is in this case with 11 Labs where I had my voice cloned. And from there, we show that audio in our UI as well as we play it right away. And we added some options of playing and downloading. Now, this is one of the examples that you could utilize Flow. You can have complex agent that can run multiple tasks, they can access tools, and they can return the response. In this particular case, I just wanted to keep it simple to show you how it works. But of course, we can add more tools to it so that you can provide some audio in. It does all of the tasks for you and comes back with the response of what was done. Now, the way one could build applications like this is you can pretty much vibe code the whole thing. And that's exactly what I did. I just prompted different tools and they went ahead, built different parts of the application. And the first thing I did is I took over the prompt. And the first thing I did is I prompted Bolt.new. I like using Bolt and Lovable. These tools are pretty good with getting your first UI set up. And from there, you can take those to any of your favorite IDEs. So starting off with Bolt, I asked for it to build a simple voice-based application. And usually what I like to do is just give a brief idea of what you want to work on. So in this case, I said I would like to take the audio, send it over to Groq for transcription, and from there I want to send it to Langflow for any sort of LM processing, and from there I want to send it over to 11 Labs to process and then generate the voice. And with that, I gave the examples of API. So for example, with Groq, I took over the documentation. So I just copied this page and then provided that as documentation. And then same thing with 11 Labs, I took the API reference. And for Langflow as well, we can take the API documentation and then provide that. So usually I take the curl command and the response that we get and provide. With that, at least these tools know what we're looking to build and how the API response is going to be. So now they can start building. And you'll be surprised that a lot of simple applications where you just have maybe a few different API calls are handled quite easily and quite nicely by these tools. There were a couple of errors, so I just went ahead, provided the error, and then I asked for a few different changes and added some logging. So that was the back and forth with the Bolt agent. And I realized there were a couple of errors, so I wanted to resolve it. Those were not solved by Bolt. So I took that over to Windsurf, and that's where I completed the application. If you notice, I asked very generic questions. Could you go through the application and first explain it to me? And based on that, could you maybe fix the UI or perhaps add some features that they go through the application and then change any necessary code as needed? Once that is completed, then we can test, and that's where we have the UI. Now, quickly, I wanted to showcase even the setup in Langflow. If you notice, it is quite simple. We are pretty much taking the input as docs from any of these providers. So I wanted to just provide the 11 Labs documentation as how the text is converted, what sort of prompting is suggested, and with that, a simple prompt here saying that you are an expert at Gen Z language, and your task is to take the user input and convert it into the Gen Z language, and just saying that no emojis, because sometimes it tend to generate emojis. And then from the user input, we are supplying that to the prompt, including the documents, and then it goes over to Groq. Groq does the task of converting into the text, and then we send that back to our application. Now, as mentioned, this is a simple way. Of course, you can add different tools to your agent. You can connect your own data sources. And this could be your AI assistant like Jarvis, where you give access to all these tools. It goes through the same process. It does the task, comes back with the response. Now, this is one of the ways of doing the voice to voice communication. There are some different techniques as well where you can reduce the latency by quite a bit. In this case, I was not very concerned about the latency, so I thought of transcribing first and then sending that text to Langflow, and from there converting it back into the speech. And with that, thanks a lot and excited to see what you build.
Low key hyped to see what you've been working on. Thanks for coming through.